All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving deep into some material that tracks China's absolutely mind-blowing technological surge. Seriously, we're talking about a transformation that is happening at an incredible speed, and it covers everything from the cars we drive to the cities we live in, and even humanoid robots. And all of this really boils down to one single massive question that our source material puts front and center. It's the question that's going to frame everything we talk about today. Is China actually winning the race for the future? For decades, let's be honest, the idea of China was pretty simple, right? It was the world's factory, the place you went for low-cost goods. Well, that idea is now completely out of date. Today, China has become a factory for ideas. Just look at Shenzhen. I mean, this place was a small fishing village not that long ago, and now people call it the Silicon Valley of the East. It's a place where the future is literally being built as we speak. And if you need one example that captures this incredible shift, look no further than our first case study from the source, the electric car giant BYD. Okay, just take a second to look at this timeline because it's pretty wild. BYD's story starts in 1995, and not in some giant factory, but in a tiny apartment where they were making batteries. Just 8 years later, they decide to jump into the car business, and now they're an absolute global powerhouse. But here's the thing, it wasn't some smooth ride to the top. The source material makes it clear that when they started, pretty much everyone was skeptical. People laughed at them. The media ripped them apart. Heck, even their biggest rival, Elon Musk, reportedly laughed at them. They were the ultimate underdog. Well, nobody's laughing anymore. Last year alone, BYD sold over 3 million electric cars. And in doing so, they officially blew past Tesla in sales. That number, it's not just a sales figure. It's a massive statement. So the big question is, how on earth did they do it? The answer is just relentless and sometimes kind of wild innovation. Let's break it down. They developed something called the Blade battery. It's a total game changer, way safer and more efficient. Then you get into the stuff that sounds like it's straight out of a James Bond movie. A car that can literally float and swim if you're in an emergency. Another one that can spin around 360 degrees in one spot. Oh, and get this, they have a charger now that can give you 400 kilometers of range in just 5 minutes. The secret to all this is something called vertical integration, which is just a fancy way of saying they make everything themselves, from the tiny microchips to the huge trains that carry parts around their factories. This gives them insane control and a huge edge on the competition. And in case you're wondering what BYD even stands for, it's Build Your Dreams. Kind of fitting for a company that went from a small apartment to taking on the entire world, don't you think? Now, this whole spirit of innovation, it isn't just locked up inside one company. As the source material shows, it's literally built into the DNA of an entire city. So let's take a quick tour of Shenzhen, which is basically the city of tomorrow, but it's operating today. First stop, in Shenzhen, you don't just order food delivery to your door. You can order from a central mall, and your lunch just arrives from the sky, dropped off by a drone. Need to get around? Fine, just pull out an app, summon a taxi, and it'll show up with absolutely no one in the driver's seat. Yep, self-driving cars are already just part of the normal traffic there. And you can forget your wallet. You can even forget your phone. In Shenzhen, you can walk into a store and pay for something just by scanning the palm of your hand. Your hand is now your wallet. And finally, if you check into a hotel, don't be shocked when your room service shows up and it's a robot that can navigate the hallways and even call the elevator all by itself. This isn't science fiction, folks. It's just Tuesday in Shenzhen. And all of this tech, seamlessly integrated into daily life, brings us right to our next big theme from the source, China's incredible push into the world of robotics, especially humanoid robots. And this slide really puts the competition into perspective. On one side, you've got China's Unitrice G1. It's super flexible, really hard to knock over, and it costs about $16,000. And on the other side, you've got the one you probably know, Boston Dynamics Atlas, an absolute giant in the industry from the US. The race is well and truly on. Okay, but functional robots that look like machines, that's one thing. The source then pushes it a step further and asks a much deeper question. What happens when the robots start to look exactly like us? So meet EX Robots. This is a Chinese company that's playing a whole different ballgame. They are creating these hyper-realistic robots. We're talking silicone skin,
lifelike facial expressions, robots designed not just to do a job, but to actually blend in with us in society.
And the vision for them is huge. The idea is for these robots to be assistants in hospitals, maybe even in medical procedures. They could be teachers, tour guides, just general helpers out in our communities. We are talking about a future where interacting with a robot that looks human is just a normal, everyday thing. So let's pull all these threads together now. We've got the electric cars, the futuristic cities, the lifelike robots, and it all brings us back to that first, really powerful question. Is all this the beginning of a new world order? So let's just do a quick recap of what the sources laid out for us. We've seen China's explosion onto the EV scene with BYD. We've had a glimpse of a fully integrated smart city with Shenzhen, and we've seen how they're competing at the top level of robotics while also pushing the boundaries with hyper-realistic androids. And this is where the source offers a really fascinating final take. It puts all of this technological growth into a geopolitical frame, basically suggesting that while America and other world powers were busy focusing on conflicts around the globe, China was quietly looking inward. They were building, they were innovating, and they were fundamentally changing the rules of the game.
And that thought leads to the final, really provocative question the source leaves us with. It points to history. Great Britain was once the undisputed power of the world, before it sort of quietly receded. And the question it asks is, are we watching the very beginning of a similar quiet transition for the United States? It's a huge question, one with no easy answers, but it's one we definitely need to be thinking about.